Hi, everybody. And what's coming is an expression around things in my life that along the road to having what has helped transform me be shared to the outside world, to you, whoever is listening. And one of those very, geez, I don't even know the word really. Yeah, there's no word for it yet. So instead, this is an expression of appreciation towards this one particular individual. And his name is Jer Lyons. Gerlyons. And if anybody wants to look him up, it's GerLyons.net. He is he's a beautiful man. And he was the first person that I ever met before I met Strategy and Authority who demonstrated a valid way of seeing conditioning in such a clear way without knowing the mechanics. And wow. What I was witnessing was somebody who had matured into the understanding of how to facilitate a space, usually always a circle, because that's what happens, right? People come together and they tend to form a circle so that we can all see each other. And that what he had learned over, by this time I think it's 35 years, was how to be inside that space and be so present to what was occurring, and to have his entire mechanism, his entire field, be alert to everything taking place in the circle, and to maintain that container in a really clean way. Meaning that what happens inside this space is that anything that's not what you are is being pushed on. It's an amazing phenomenon, right? Maybe people realize the little element of this when you're alone, it's like you're just you, whatever that is. And then when you get with another, just one person, you can feel that something's taking place, and it can be quite intimate, right? Or, there can be something that is a communion with the other. And those moments that tend to be the most significant, that becomes somebody who's usually a friend or an ally or a lover or, a significant person to you. It's like you're in the same, flow, or whatever anybody wants to call it. There's so many words that have described it over the centuries. And then maybe people experience what it is to go from two and have a third come in, and you can feel that something just changed. And that a certain level of the intimacy or the communion that you have with one has now sort of disappeared, or it's significantly shifted. Well, And maybe you notice that as you increase the number of people, it changes even more, and how potentially you are in that space shifts, right? Like people who say, oh my God, I'm terrible in groups, you know? Well, what this individual, what Jer, when I met him, it was like he was truly so deeply experienced in what was taking place inside of this phenomenon, which in human design it's an actual mechanism, right? It's explained. It's something called a wa. Now, but I don't want to go into that. I just want to acknowledge that it actually has a name, and that you can verify it. You don't have to believe it, right? It's not just some label. It's an actual thing, and it can be verified. It can be tested and gone, holy shit, you can measure this, and it's reliable, right? And so inside this, Jer possesses this sensitivity to hold this space in such a clean manner. And in that space, I got to start to expel the lies that had destroyed me, the secrets, and also ways that I was expressing myself that was clearly like, that's not me, but me not knowing it. And to start to see my mind, even though I hadn't known not to believe it yet, but to actually see it. And what I learned by getting to know Jer and listening to his process is that the way that I see it now is, here was this person, this human who had dedicated his life, like, I can't even say that he dedicated it. It's like it became clear that this was what he is doing. This is what he is here for, choicelessly. And that this depth in what one could call mastery, but it's more, it's not that. It's just an incredible depth of experiencing something from one spectrum to another spectrum. What I mean by that is he had shared that first his study was with elements, being herbs and modalities that could be offered to the other. So things that could be offered to another. And becoming very knowledgeable through the experience of a one-on-one, you and the other, going back to what I had started with, which is beginning to really understand the depth of what it is to commune with another person on an individual basis. And then for him to realize that it wasn't about the things that he could offer anymore, that those things potentially actually got in the way. That being present to another human being allowed for a more holistic way for the person to experience their own transformation, which usually showed up as healing. And then it became more than one person, right? So then from what he shared, that it then became more than one. So he was moving up in the understanding of, this is what it's like to be with one person and have conditioning elements in their life start to transform. And then all of a sudden it started to turn into what would be more than one other person. So 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, where it built up in its complexity, right? Because the more ingredients you added, which is the people, the more complex it became. Which, from what I can tell, started to slowly refine his sensitivity and his capacity to become very aware of how this thing was working. And to watch somebody so thoroughly get out of their own way to hold a container like this where transformation could take place and that somebody could get to identify things about their human experience that no longer served them, and to then get to things that possibly could serve them. And so he became one of the first people that I would get to know, that whoever I was, that I could share with them totally. And that was really new. And to watch that inside of these circles, that because of his 35 years of really having no option but to understand this mechanism of what happens when you gather people together in a number. And that there is this very specific way that if that space gets held together, that it can remove what ails the person. And to this day, it's still one of the most valuable processes I have ever been a part of. As far as the capacity for the body to heal. And he's one of the people that I still respond to going and being a part of these circles, and what I witness start to occur inside me. That each time I see him, I get healthier. And so there's a tremendous amount of gratitude that someone like him exists in the world. That what so many people in human design refer to as the Wa, and Ra even, he didn't like the Wa. Because if you're in a Wa that doesn't have someone like him that can be really sensitive to it and present to it the way that he is, they condition everybody in a whole other way. As I talked about in the beginning, all of a sudden you start behaving in a way that's like, what the fuck is this? Why does that happen? But that when you have someone like him, it becomes this amazing mechanism for healing and transformation. Now, at the same time that I met Jer and started doing this process with him, that was also when I had started to study human design. So at the same time that I was watching these transformations occur, I had this manual over here. And I could literally witness the mechanism that was taking place out here. It was also on this piece of paper, which was truly mind-blowing. It was like, oh my God, I can see this. I can see this. And I started to get to know everybody's design in a circle all around the world, right? So, that's amazing, that life was like, here, we're going to put you in a circle in this thing that's mechanically called a wah. And you're going to start to know the majority of the people's designs in it. And now you're going to watch this play out. You're going to have a virtual experience that I would spend, I think it was something like 26 or 27 now at this point. Like 20, I think 23 or more in the first few years before I met Strategy and Authority. That I traveled around the world and was witnessing this manual and the real life experience of it happening juxtaposed to each other, which just was validating so much of this information I was witnessing. But I still didn't know what it meant to be this sacral responding thing. But at the same time, watching that, what I was learning about was conditioning. Uh-oh. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Whew.
I hate this.
The trees?
No, Polly's plunge. There's no way to slow down safely.
Uh-huh. Yes, I know, especially when you have some travelers on the way.
There's more. I'm not with them. I don't know them, but they entered the same time I did.
Well, I'll let you go ahead. Yeah. Kaya, leave her alone. Come here. Sit. Hey. No. Hey, Kaya, come here. No. Hey. Hey. See, look, strangers on the trail. Ooh, the intensity of that person's frustration. Wow. Kaya, come. She's ready for some more exercise. There we go. Good girl. There you go. There's a bit of unexpected, but yeah, boy, the intensity of her frustration. Whew, man, that was a lot to take in after having so much space in my expression. Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness. Now I really got taken out of wherever I was. Jeez. Is where I was at going to come? I was really somewhere in there. Huh. I call those the forces, or, yeah. I mean, they just came in and was like, nah, we're going to come out of that. Right? Unexpected. Let's see if where I was going to come back. it's amazing. Until that person showed up, wow, I had no idea how just like, just right there. I don't know. It's very hard to describe where I was. It was like the whole world around me disappeared, in a sense. Or that, yeah, that I was completely present to whatever was coming out. See, my mind wants to stop the video and go back and pick up, like, oh, what was it? Let me hear it again, and then maybe it'll come up. And instead, I don't know. I'm just waiting. Oh, we've got some more. Uh-oh. You all right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You want some help up?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll get it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Kaya, come on. Oh boy, she loves chasing after him. I bring crashes. People come along and they meet me on the trail and they crash. What to do? Now, that must be the rest of her posse. They're coming off the ski mountain. Now we're really outside of wherever I was. It's like, whoop. Oh, it was so good too. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but the frequency of it was very satisfying. Yeah, once again, I don't even know if that's true. That's what my mind says about it. And there's nobody around to ask me, so I don't really hold on to it, that it said that. My mind has said that. Let's see. Oh. Well, I think it is a matter of seeing if I stop the video, go back, and then if there's energy to edit it in, or if it just becomes a continuation video. So I guess for right now, we'll just call that part 1. And we'll see if a part 2 comes and if this gets to have more or not. So once again, for everybody who stayed, that's 23 minutes of whatever that is. And, a deep appreciation for Jer and what I learned. And what oh, it's back. Ha ha! The thread was appreciation. That I got to have these two things that I got to witness together. That to the real recognition in this moment of like how beautiful, how life was, if I'm to, I guess, give it a personality, that life was there going, stay, Hunt, look, this thing in your life called human design is going to come in. And for you, it's going to be primarily mental. But at the same time, we're going to put you through this other cathartic process that you're very clearly going to be experiencing, that it will be experiential. And so you will have these two things juxtaposed. You will have this experience, and you will get to know the individual experience because of the people that I would share with individually inside this circle, and then group-wise, in different group sizes. And I would have somebody that would know how to navigate this incredibly well through their own experience of what would work, what would not work, and what would hold that space to be what people would call safe, or what I would say is clean. And to have this thing that you're getting to match it up against and go, holy shit, these two things are working together. And that I would do that for solidly until Strategy and Authority came in. From 2011 until January, I think it was February of 2011. I think it was 2011. Yes, 2011. And then I met my sound, actually learning what Strategy and Authority was, in September of 2013. And so from that moment until that moment, I was, before that even, in 2009, I think it was when I started mentally digesting this thing, human design. And that by 2011 now, I was having something that I could test, not even test it, but I could see it happening. And I could see this group thing happening. So little beknownst to me was life was going, hey, you're going to do this thing. And you're going to have experience for, what would that be? More than 2.5 years of having this knowledge be seen on the outside of you in this group and with these people. And take all that in and be deeply experienced in this human experience over here while you learn it intellectually. To have life present that to me, to give that to me as something that I didn't really even understand, that this was my school. This was what I was here to witness, and then therefore choicelessly take in and start to know. And then when Strategy and Authority came in, something started to shift. That's when the recognition of conditioning started to turn into how to have conditioning not return. While I was witnessing in this circle that people were experiencing healing, people were experiencing transformation from the lives that they had lived, but that something was replacing it. The vulnerability that exists in all of us, and for me, the vulnerability that I came to know, which I was born with, which I will exist with forever, that those vulnerable places where conditioning comes in and has a role to play, that for me, the conditioning no longer could take control. It would just become information inside me. But that for the others, that the thing that I could see that was plaguing them, that I could also see mechanically, when that would leave, they were now returning with something new that had the themes of what that vulnerability represented. And it was like, oh my God, oh wow, this is crazy. Like, how beautiful that everything that they had gone through in their life is having a chance to leave, and that there's this healing taking place, but there's something replacing it that is still keeping them from themselves. That I could see this. And what started to happen was life was now going, okay, Hunt, you know this, you see this, you're now experiencing it in your body, and it was now time to leave that experience. And so my time with this amazing man was now transitioning. And he had said something to somebody who relayed it back to me, as clear as my memory can be about it, And it was because he could see that something was happening to me. He could see that there was something more than whatever had started to transform me in those circles. That this human design thing, this strategy and authority thing was like further, something was occurring. And that I didn't know at that time exactly how to be with what was happening in his circles and even with him. And so life brought to this moment where it went, okay, it's time for you to go off and say goodbye to this for now. And I remember when Jer and I, it was time for our journeys to separate, to move in there, to pop out into no longer next to each other. That inside there was this thing that even whispered that now in hindsight it was this sense that I wouldn't see him again until this process that was taking place inside me had its first cycle, which was 7 years. And I didn't hold on to that. I just had this thing inside that whispered that to me, in a sense. And I didn't believe it. It was just something that was like there. It was just like, whoa, like I can't imagine seeing him until 7 years. Like that I needed to validate the full validity of this strategy and authority thing before I could see him again. And that our cells could no longer know each other. And what I mean by that is that from everything that they've studied scientifically that I've come across, that almost every single cell, every single tissue, all that stuff, all your bones, everything, that at about a 7-year cycle, everything is replaced. The only thing is don't is your brain, and I think your spinal cord, and I think that's about it. Which is why it's so hard to make change happen inside the form, because the brain is as old as we are. You might get new pathways and neuroplasticity, but what is there stays. It's not like your skin when it replaces itself, So in the 7-year process of this, and that's why it's 7 years, it's when your body replaces itself cellularly by having something that truly transforms the vehicle, because the cells that are now being produced are doing something they've never done before. And so that process started to take hold, and it moved me away from Jer. And my mind was quite upset about that. It judged the whole thing, but I knew there was nothing to listen to. But to know that, that if I were to meet him again, it would probably be after I had been through 7 years, and that my cells no longer knew his cells, that he truly became a stranger to me again. And that's actually exactly what happened. And it took my body going into this level of dis-ease that I then I responded to needing to go and see him again, to be in one of these circles. And that when I went to this circle, I would be myself. That now I would be myself. That I would experience this magic of this circle, solid in my frequency. That the Wa could not manipulate me. That the circle could not manipulate me. That I could truly witness the profoundness of it, solid in myself. that I would meet this man in the wish that my mind had always had beforehand, that I wanted to know him as me, because I could see that who he was that he was surrendered. He was surrendered to himself. That there was a glimmer behind his eyes. There was an awakeness in him. And so my my sacral brought me to him in its wounded state. And when Jared and I first met, right, I talked about the 7 years, right? That when you break a bond with somebody, if you really haven't had any contact with them as physically, no physical contact with them for 7 years, that the mind might remember, but on the cellular level, they have been forgotten. That they're new. They're new if you meet them again. And that when Jared and I first made aura contact, it was absolutely amazing. His aura and my aura, it was like we didn't say anything. We just kind of looked at each other, but it was like the auras like two dogs. They sniffed each other. It was like they were calibrating. They were coming to meet again for the first time. It was amazing. It was amazing. He was a stranger, if that makes any sense. And then the auras made contact, and they totally like started to slowly become known to each other again. And that the things that were true from before remained. That he was somebody that I could share with, who wanted to hear what I had to say. And that I could feel like a kid in sharing it with him. That it didn't matter if that I spoke another language, that whatever was shared was understood. And that now, my sacral keeps bringing me back to his circles. That this dis-ease of my body brings me to this circle again, but as myself. And so there is a deep, deep gratitude to this man, this work, and what it provides to humans. And to him. He's such a lovely human being. To meet people like him on this path of life is so fortunate. My mind wants to make it ridiculous that I'm filming myself having a tearful moment. Oh, God. To somehow make it wrong to witness oneself go through something like that, right? To have something arise out of something that for me is something that is beautiful. That those are tears of beauty and truth and gratitude. And well, I don't know about gratitude, but beauty and truth. It's how it's consistently shown up. Mm. Yes. Hmm. Wow. Hmm. Well, that's 40 minutes. I don't know. I don't know if anybody stayed around for that. That's a lot. That's a lot to listen to somebody. So, yeah, if you're still there, wow. Well, I guess we'll see what comes next. All right. Bye for now.